Welcome to this tutorial. So this video we're talking about university cutoff mark, but majorly the theme for this particular video is after JAMB what next. So we'll be taking a series on this theme, talking about all you need to understand that after JAMB what are the next steps and the things you need to know. Over the years, a lot of students has missed admission or they have been sent back because of misinformation received, or their courses have been changed because of misinformation. One of this information is whereby you enroll the wrong students combination, and after JAMB, you apply for a course, you're given admission in that course, and probably later discover that you did not meet the requirement to get that particular course. For example, you want to study engineering and you did not register maths during your JAMB. Definitely your course will be changed, or some universities, some class officer might send you back, though you got admission, but you have lost that admission because of wrong student combination. And many more other things could also occur. Many people, they have missed admission because they were told by some persons that the score is not enough to study a particular course they want to study, and many other. This one happens every year, whereby students who scored 300 will not get admission, but students who scored 180 will get admission. I'll give you two reasons where that can happen. Before you leave this video, please do to subscribe and share this video, like and comment, so that you will not miss out on this entire series. This series is marked up to help you to be able to understand all you need to know, and majorly we'll be touching the common mistakes students have made over the years that have ruined caused them the admission, so that you will not make similar mistakes. So all you need to do is just to subscribe, so that when we begin to drop this series one by one, you'll be able to actually follow through over time. So one of the mistakes is that when the student has scored 300 will apply for, let me say, law, and in that university the other students who scored higher than 300 in that same university applying for law, and when they apply for law, a student who scored 180 is also applying for law. Let me give that example now. A student who scored 180 is applying for law, and let's assume in this case a JAMB cutoff mark is 140. What happened is this, that they want to also apply for law, where people who scored 300, 350 are still applying for same law. What happened is this, that when the admission process commences, they will only give to the first 100%. Let's assume they want to only admit 100 people in law department, so they will give only to 100%. So therefore, the other persons will not have opportunity to get admission. If, let's assume you have 300 students who scored 300, 350, and they're applying for a particular course, and we have another 500 students who scored 200, between 200 to 250, applying for that same law. Someone that has scored 180 should already know that there's no chance for admission in law in such a case. Just I'm giving an example. Does not have opportunity to study law with that kind of result. So because they will first of all give to that 100%, so there's no opportunity for that last person. So somebody that's scored 180 is now applying for, okay, let's say somebody that scored 170 is now applying for, let's say, international relation, or ELS, English and Literary Study. The person that is applying for English and Literary Study has scored 170 will get admission if all that person applying for that same course, their score is lower than that. So most times you see that people say, my friend scored 300, she did not get admission, and that of my friend scored 170, she got admission. This not doing your admission process very well. No, that's not the case. You must understand that you're applying for different courses, and once you apply for different courses, you'll be judged differently. You'll be judged differently. The friend that is applying for a lower course could get the course he or she is applying for because she might be part of the highest people who apply for that course, but you are applying for another course whereby your result does not equate other persons who are applying for that course. So what I recommend most times is that when you analyze your result after receiving your result, and you know your result is not that high, one thing I recommend is that you can switch to another course. But I'm going to tell you another downside of switching again, and this is it. For example, especially for schools that write post-UTME, if the school you're applying for, you have found that that they don't write post-UTME, you can easily switch. But if your school write post-UTME, you still have a chance, a high chance of getting admission. I will use Unidel as a case study. Somebody that scored 200 in JAM apply for Unidel, and somebody that scored 180 or 170 in JAM applying for same Unidel. Somebody scored 250, for example, and that scored 200. I want to give an example now. If both of them apply for a particular course in Unidel, their post-UTME performance can still decide. You score that somebody who scored 250 in JAM and somebody scored 200 in JAM. The person that scored 250 in JAM, his name will not come out at all, or may not come out in merit list. But the person who scored 200 in JAM, their name might come out in merit list. The reason being that during post-UTME, the person who scored 200 might perform way higher than the person who scored 250. And from analysis, which I'm going to share, not in this video, discover that those who the Unidel post-UTME score gives you more advantage. If you perform very well in the post-UTME, it gives you more advantage of having a higher aggregate because of the division process, which I will not share in this video. So I've done the analysis, I've done mathematics over the years, and it's that if you might score higher in JAM and somebody scored way below you, and the person was able to perform better than you in post-UTME, the person has more advantage than you. So that's why I normally recommend that you don't just go and switch your course, especially for universities whereby they write post-UTME. Unidel as a case study. So you don't need to go and switch. Reason being that if you switch, you might end up performing well in post-UTME, which will now give you advantage, would have given you advantage in the course we are applying for. So that is one reason why you should not switch. So I'm going to talk about now understanding the cutoff mark. That brings us to that particular place. Let us now understand what cutoff mark is. Many of you have been sending me a message. What's the cutoff mark for Unidel? What's the cutoff mark for this university? What's the cutoff mark for Delsu? Cutoff mark for other university? Let me explain to you. The cutoff mark is not released until after an exam, because cutoff mark is gotten by analyzing the current performance of the student or those applying for that particular course. So we're going to talk about cutoff mark in different phases. So first of all, I have the JAM cutoff mark. The JAM cutoff mark is the cutoff mark that JAM sets after their meeting, council meeting, and after that meeting, they will set a benchmark of a particular course, which is called the cutoff mark for universities, qualified education, and polytechnics. For last year, every aspect have their own cutoff mark. So that is the first one, and this is determined after JAM exam, and after JAM, they will have a meeting. And after that meeting, that's when they will now officially open their admission section for that particular year. So that is for that. So next we have institutional cutoff mark. That is the cutoff mark of the university. So once JAM has released the cutoff mark, all institutes have the leverage to peg their cutoff mark at any mark above JAM cutoff mark. Let's assume if JAM cutoff mark is 140, any university can peg their cutoff mark at 200, 150, 145, but not below JAM cutoff mark. Not below JAM cutoff mark. That is one thing you must understand. So that is for that. Then again, we have departmental cutoff mark, which is the last cutoff mark. This is the cutoff mark that is determined by the university, and most of them call it aggregate. For Delsu, for Unidel, they call it aggregate. Even also for Uniben. So it's called majorly they call it aggregate, but I will use word departmental cutoff mark. That is for that. And this cutoff mark are also determined. Okay, let me put it this way: JAM cutoff mark is determined after JAM exam based on the performance of students. They will now set a cutoff mark. Then universities, college of education, polytechnic will now pick their individual institute cutoff mark. That is after when JAM, based on what JAM decide as their own cutoff mark. And after that, after the screening, after the university have picked their institutional cutoff mark, the next thing they do is to be able to pick a cutoff mark based on their post-UTME performance. For those writing post-UTME, after post-UTME performance, they will now put a benchmark of a cutoff mark for each department based on the application they receive for each department. For example, the university whereby some departments will do post-UTME, while some departments will not do right post-UTME. The reason being that those departments, the application they received were not much, and they are not professional courses. So therefore, they will just screen them and give everybody who apply for that particular course admission, especially in those faculties in education majorly. It happens there, majorly in education. Because many people apply for education, they just give all of them admission, not minding else, provided they are score exceed JAMB's cutoff mark. That's what they look at. If your score exceeds JAMB cutoff mark and you're applying for a less dense or course, that is for a course that does not have much application, you might just receive admission with less stress. So that is for that. So the next thing again is that after they have written their position, they will now work on the scores, your JAM score and your position performance score, and have an aggregate. Then after the aggregate, they will now determine a cutoff mark based on the student performances and the application level, the level of application that they receive. That will now determine the cutoff mark they are going to bench it for. Let's assume if they want to accept 100 students in medicine and surgery, and let's say 500, let's say 1,000 students applied. What they will do, let me say for example the total score aggregate is 100, and let's say 200 students scored exactly 100. They will put a benchmark at 100 as the cutoff mark, or 90, 99, because they already gotten the people they want. That will be the cutoff mark for medicine and surgery. So you might see that you scored 80, you scored 99, and you did not get admission. And mind you, because you pass the cutoff mark does not guarantee you get admission. If the cutoff mark is put at 80, for example, for medicine and surgery, and you scored 85, sir, it does not guarantee you getting admission, because it is the quota, it's what we call quota, that JAMB normally release to university for each course. These are the number of students you can accept in a particular course. And not even just JAMB, NUC also release those quota when they want to approve a university. For example, if you are approving university, majorly law, medicine and surgery, these courses they accept majorly 100 students, sometimes even below that, based on your university capacity. That's why how NUC will approve the number of students you can actually accept. And also JAMB has a quota they release to each university on the maximum persons they can admit. So they are going to work with that. So even though you score higher than that, let's assume, I give an example now. If they have 200 people, students that scored 100 at the aggregate, which is the maximum, and now they want to only accept 100 students, they will accept the first 100. So somebody that scored 99 has no hope in this case, except grace for you, which is in up. So you have no hope in such a case. So that is how it works. So that is how you understand the reason why most times I'm going to share a link on our WhatsApp platform of all universities they aggregate over the years, so that you have an idea of how they have been calculating the aggregate over the years. But please note this, that this aggregate will be determined after the exam, but major time is all it looks like it repeats, not actually that it repeats, but because majorly the performance of students over the years tends to fluctuate within that particular sphere. That's why it are majorly some universities, medicine is always 80, 70, 80 for aggregate, 70, 80 for aggregates. But I will give a recommendation that if you scored below 200 and the university is not writing post-UTME, I recommend that you don't apply for some professional courses like law. Yes, like law. If you want to just look for another course to switch to on time. But if you scored, let's say 250, you can actually apply, even though your university does not do post-UTME. It depends on university. As a university, you know that the application they normally get every year is very, very way higher. So you may just have to switch. And also, if your university is hiring post-UTME, you can actually take the risk, because if you perform very, very well in post-UTME, it can boost your score, your aggregate, which will in turn even maybe beat people who actually scored higher during their JAM. So this is the understanding aspect of how cutoff mark work. So please subscribe, follow, and share this video, because we are going to be sharing more updates on this JAMB cutoff marks and other aspects of JAMB. Today, we're talking about cutoff mark. In our next video, we're talking about more important common mistakes students made that have caused them the admission over the years. So please stay tuned for that video.